We're on our way to an arm wrestling practice at a university in Varanasi. A professor invited me and now we're trying to get there. I've been arm wrestling for 5 years now. And I recently managed to become the national champ of Austria in the 80 kg category on the right arm. But before that, I traveled through India searching for arm wrestlers all across the country to test my strength and to learn from them. If you want to know whether I went undefeated on my trip through India or if I got crushed by Indian arm wrestlers, then this video is for you. Spoiler alert, I found much more than just strong arm wrestlers there. So it all started last September when my wife and me quit our jobs and sold everything we owned, watched the first video I made about that, and then went to India, more specifically to Kolkata. Originally, we wanted to join a spiritual group called Ananda Kolkata, so we met with them, did some chanting and some meditation with them, which was beautiful, but we soon felt the urge to keep moving and to keep traveling. So after making some friends in Kolkata and surviving a brutal food poisoning that almost took us out, we decided to head up north to a town called Darjeeling to escape the city chaos. And there, the owner of the homestay we stayed in, Vicky, if you're ever in Darjeeling, you should check him out, told us that his nephew Sonam was into arm wrestling, and there was even a tournament coming up in a nearby town called Siliguri. And that got me super excited because at that point I hadn't been doing any arm wrestling for a couple of months. So long story short, Sonam invited us over to Siliguri. Him and his mom let us stay at their place for a week, totally free. Sonam and Arati, if you're watching this, thank you again, we had a great time there. I helped him fix up his arm wrestling table, trained a little bit with him and his friends, and then tried to get ready for the tournament. But unfortunately the tournament got postponed, so we had a big sparring session instead. I was a level above most of the guys there. But there was one guy there named Rohan, only 17 years old, who could beat me on the right arm that day. In my defense though, he was about 10 kilos heavier than me and I was still weakened from the food poisoning. Next, we took a train to the beautiful city of Varanasi, which is supposedly the oldest city in the world, and there we got scammed at the ancient Hindu cremation grounds and saw a dead body floating in the Ganges during a boat ride. And we also got sick from the poor air quality. However, we also met this wonderful guy who is a professor of ancient Indian history at Banaras Hindu University and also an experienced arm wrestler of 30 years. He had recently won a gold medal in the Asian Cup Masters division and is training a group of dedicated young arm wrestling students directly on campus. Pretty cool. I could beat him on the left arm, but on the right arm we were pretty evenly matched. But again, there was one guy in the group that could beat me on the right arm, who was over 100 kilos though. Our train to Mumbai got delayed by over 10 hours, so the professor let us stay at his place and we had some tea and some philosophical discussions, which was great. The next day we took a train from Varanasi all the way to Mumbai, which was a 41-hour train ride, and there I met with an arm wrestling club called Bruteforce United Club. Had a great training session with them. There was one guy, I think his name was Ishan, that was around my weight and we were pretty evenly matched. And another one called Harshit that I had no chance against. But again, Harshit was a heavier guy, and just a week before I got there he had given Ryan Bowen a tough fight, so I didn't feel too bad losing to him. Our next stop was Goa, which is just paradise on earth in my opinion. Didn't do any arm wrestling there, just relaxed, refueled, had a great time, and took up some gym training again to prepare for the next city. After Goa we went down to Gokarna, which is another beautiful town on the west coast of India, and there I decided to DM Rahul Panicker on Instagram. If you don't know Rahul Panicker is a multiple Indian national champ in the 65 to 70 kg weight class. a super strong guy, and a few years ago a clip of him beating Larry Wheels went viral on YouTube. So I DM'd him on Instagram. I didn't really expect to reply just because he's so big on Instagram. But lo and behold, a few minutes later he just called me. And that was super exciting. I mean, Rahul Panicker just called me personally and invited me to his arm wrestling club in Kochi. And this time everything was different. These guys, even though they were much lighter than me, about 70 to 75 kg, most of them, strength-wise, they were on a completely different level. And it wasn't even this brute strength, but more like this just elegant back pressure pronation strength that just completely disarmed me and disabled my inside game. I love these guys, don't get me wrong, but they totally crushed my ego that day. Up until that point, I'd always had excuses when I lost, like my opponents were heavier and I was still weak from the food poisoning. But this time they were lighter than me and much stronger, so I couldn't come up with any excuse. Before that, I had considered myself a pretty strong puller in the 80 kg weight category. But that day I just realized these guys are pros, I'm nowhere near them strength-wise. Now 3 of these guys stood out to me especially. First one being Thejas, 24 years old, national and Asian medalist. He competed in season 1 of Propanja League. Super strong guy, but also very smart. He's a fitness coach. And when we pulled, he immediately pointed out my weaknesses and gave me tips on how to improve. Next one being Steve Thomas, who has unreal strength for his build and his age. And he's a 7 times national champ and Asian youth champ, and just a super friendly guy as well. And of course, Rahul Panicker himself, hands down one of the nicest people I've ever met. Unfortunately, he couldn't do much pulling that day because he was still recovering from a biceps tendon injury. But he invited us to a restaurant after the practice session. All in all, it was a very humbling experience. I'll never forget that feeling of brotherhood and friendship these guys have for each other. Thejas even offered to give me some coaching and write a plan for me in the future. After Kochi, we visited some other places like Varkala, Chennai and Sri Lanka for 3 weeks. And I also had another training session with Thejas Gopi and some other guys. And then we had to come back to Austria to work again and earn money for the next trip. So to answer the question of the video, yes, I was beat by Indian Armwrestlers. I was beat pretty badly, but I was being gifted and shown so much more. We made amazing friends and deep connections there. We were touched by their beautiful hospitality, and the whole feeling of life in India is completely different from Europe. People are much more easygoing and laid back. They actually talk to each other much more. It was just a legendary trip that we will never forget, and we will definitely come back to India at some point and meet these people again. If you liked the video, then I would be super happy if you click the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future content. And if you have any questions or suggestions on where I should travel next, then feel free to drop me a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!